Okay, we'll call the City Council adjourned meeting for September 19th, 2005 to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Arbogast.
Here.
Garnos.
Here.
Gisselbeck.
Here.
Heller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Meisenheimer.
Here.
Solberg. Mrs. Walder is absent. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
And Mrs. York.
Here.
Thank you.
We'll please stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll begin our agenda tonight with the high school peer helpers who are here to explain a program to help the Katrina victims. So,
Hi, I'm Abby Brandon. I'm one of Watertown High School Peer Helpers. We have started a massive, I don't know what you would call it, a food drive to get food that were hurt by Katrina. And that we are trying to get filled with 48,000 pounds of food. Have all the information on them. It says that it would be leaving the 20th. More, and I guess some stuff that they need would be like toilet paper, shampoo, conditioners, stuff like that, canned foods and vegetables. And it will be delivered to the Capital Area Food Bank in Austin, Texas, where it will be taken right to where it was affected and the areas that were hurt.
I see them cross the street every day. They're bringing items into the semi-trailers. So, how's it going? Is it going well? Or?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. We need to rally together as a town to help them, because I know if we were hurt by this, we would want people to help us too. So I guess we challenge the city of Watertown and the surrounding areas to get the semi filled with stuff to take down there.
How much time are you allotting for this, or?
Till about next Friday, somewhere around there, I guess.
We certainly want to commend you for doing this, representing our city so well. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Abby, I just wanted to say too, thanks to the Peer Helpers Group. It's a wonderful project that you're undertaking. When I heard it on the radio, I thought, that's Watertown kids for you.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot.
Yep.
We'll move on to item number 1, which is a motion to approve the minutes of the city council meetings of August 29th and September 6th of 2005. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
So moved by Mr. Wilson, seconded by Mr. Solberg. Are there any adjustments to those dates of those meetings, August 29th and September 6th? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 is an application for transfer of a retail on-sale liquor license from Dora Incorporated, doing business as Drake Motor Inn, which is basically an expansion, to Dora Incorporated, doing business as Drake Motor Inn Incorporated. We'll begin the transfer with a public hearing. Is there anyone to speak to the public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing and ask for council action on the transfer.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Garno, seconded? Seconded by Mr. Solberg. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have a transfer of an alcoholic beverage licenses presently held by Doc's Bar Incorporated. There's an application for a transfer of an on-sale liquor license from Doc's Bar Incorporated, doing business as Doc's Bar, to D&M Entertainment Incorporated, doing business as Doc's Bar. We'll begin with the public hearing. Is there anyone to speak to the issue on the public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for the transfer.
I'll make a motion, we approve the transfer.
Motion by Mrs. York, second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Meisenheimer. Any discussion?
Is
All
there
in-
anybody here from the police department? Are there any comments? Any problems? Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have an application for a transfer of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for Doc's Bar Incorporated, doing business as Doc's Bar, to D&M Entertainment Incorporated, doing business as Doc's Bar. And we'll begin with the public hearing. Is there anyone to speak to the public hearing on this issue? If not, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for the transfer. So moved by Mr. Solberg, seconded.
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. Is there any discussion? Mayor Chief Vitek, is there any issues on this at all? No, sir. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we'll have the urban, item number 4. Tracy will speak to us on the urban renewal assessment roll for 2005.
Thank you. Along with your agenda packet, you should have received a copy of resolution number 05-44, which approves the urban renewal assessment for the coming year. And in addition, with your agenda, you would have received quite a long list of all those properties that are included on the assessment roll and the amount to be assessed to each property. The grand total of all the uptown properties that are assessed will come to $40,751.68. All of these property owners receive a letter from the finance department notifying them of this public hearing and their right to come and appear and either support or oppose the assessment. With that explanation, then I guess I would turn it back to the public hearing and open that up for comment.
Is there anyone here to speak on the public hearing, either for or against the assessment roll? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Next, we'll ask for council action for the approval of the assessment roll, resolution number 5-44. May I have a motion, please? So moved by Mr. Heller, seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Giselbeck. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, Mr. Peterson will speak to us on the consideration of bids received for the construction of the North Park Sanitary Sewer Project.
On September 7th, we opened bids for the replacement of a sanitary sewer main on North Park between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue North. We received 2 bids on this project, with the low bidder being Hawkeye Enterprises for the bid amount of $26,093.10. This project was one that was the wastewater collection department found there were 6 homes on a sanitary sewer main that has no manholes on it, and it's about an 80-year-old line that we have no way of determining the exact condition of it. And the homeowners up in that area had been having problems with their individual services, and we were called up there to check our main, and found out that this main up there is an old one that didn't meet our standards, and we have no idea what the condition of it is, but we believe it's in bad condition, being 80 years old in a clay line. The sewer department has money within their maintenance budget for reconstructing this sewer line, and we're asking for your approval of the award of this bid to Hawkeye Enterprises. This comes to you with the recommendation of the Public Works Committee for approval.
May I have a motion for the approval of Hawkeye Enterprises for the bid?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Solberg, seconded by Mr. Garnos. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we'll have Mr. Rice speak to us on the item number 6, which is consideration of quotes for snow removal for the 2005-2006 season. Mike?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. before we get into the request for a motion to approve all bids, sometimes there's been some questions on how we go about hiring the bidders that we have. And while cost is a major factor, there's 3 items in there that play pretty heavily. One of them is availability, and that's the proximity of the equipment to Watertown and what other kind of contracts the contractor might have, contract obligations he has. That the trucks and equipment are able to perform, have current license registrations and insurability. They're able to go to work. Some examples are boxes empty of previous day's loads, hoist working, latches latching, cutting edges in good condition, and minimum fluid leaks. And on ability, can the operator owner do a proficient job with little redirection? Ability to find way around town, conscience of traffic and traffic concerns, considerate of city's property, and also property owner's property. Does he have the ability to get started and stick with the project until a given area is done or the workday completed? Next, we get down to the cost. While that's a major factor, the previous comments have a definite factor on the overall cost and efficiency of each snow removal event. Major safety infractions or recklessness and incompleteness causes delays, scheduling problems, and poor image building. These prices that are before you are in effect for the snow removal for this year and other incidental work that the city does throughout the year when they don't have enough equipment to fill out their own obligations. The sheet of quote tabulations has this year's bid and last year's bid in quotations, and an average % increase of equipment used by any given owner is just below their own company name. We expected a major increase. Fuel was $1.70 a gallon last year, and it's $3 plus now. Parts and repairs have increased 4 to 5%, and we have an increased area. So, unless there's any questions, I'm looking for a motion to approve all snow removal quotes, and there's plenty of work for everybody. This comes with a Public Works recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Arbogast, seconded by Mr. Giselbeck. Is there any further discussion?
We hope there's not plenty of work for everybody.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we'll have Chief Jungerman from the Fire Department speak to us on the consideration of bids received for the heart monitor. Mike?
Good evening. On September 9th, we opened bids for the new heart monitor. We only had the one bidder, who was Medtronics. We were budgeted $23,500. Our bid come in at $24,499, but with a $1,000 trade-in for an older unit, brings us down to $23,499.53. And I would ask for an approval of this bid.
So move.
So moved by Mr. Garno, seconded by Mr. Meisenheimer. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike. Let's see, Tracy, you'll speak to us on the budget.
Okay, thank you. There are several items listed on your agenda under the budget. The first item is just any final changes to the ordinances proposed. I'm not aware of any or any that we need to address tonight, but I did want to point that out. I know at our last meeting, when we had the first reading of the budget, there were some questions. I believe that one particular issue regarding Roby Creek was referred to Public Works, and although I wasn't able to attend that meeting, I think it was discussed and decided that it wasn't necessary at this time to amend next year's budget, but that the issue would receive some additional attention to determine what, if anything, the city will pursue in that area. If that's fair to say, I guess, unless there are other changes or if we need to discuss that issue further, I think we're ready to proceed with the second reading of the ordinance.
Does anyone have any changes or speak to any changes? If not, then Tracy, we'll go to the second reading.
Okay, then this is the second reading of the proposed budget ordinance. You do have a copy in your agenda file. The ordinance itself consists of 3 pages. The first 2 pages are a summary of the appropriations for all of the various budgeted funds that the city has. The final page, the final of the 3 pages includes the funding sources for all of those funds as well. And I know on the copy that you have as part of your agenda packet, the print is quite small. You can enlarge that on your screen if you move your mouse to the top of the kind of the header where you see on mine it appears as 91%. It may be some different percentage on yours, but you can hit the plus button just to the right of that, and that will enlarge the text on that particular display, so you can make it a little more readable. I think if you enlarge it to about 200%, at least that's what it takes for my eyes to be able to read it. Are there any questions at all on the budget ordinance? I think we've been over and over and over this, I guess, in a lot of different ways. So if there are none, I would ask for a motion from the council to approve ordinance number 05-11.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Giselbeck, seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wilson. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And the last item that's really tied to the budget is approval of the capital outlay accumulation plan. That is, that really links the budget and the capital improvement plan that was adopted earlier this year. And in essence, the real effect of approving this resolution is to give me formal authority to make the necessary entries in our accounting system to reserve the funds for those future capital outlays beyond year 2006. In your agenda packet, again, you should have a copy of the resolution as well as about 3 or 4 pages of the financial portion of the capital outlay accumulation plan, where we will document that we are setting money aside for the plan years 2007, 2008, and 2009. I'd entertain any questions you might have.
Is there any questions from the council?
If not, I would ask for a motion to approve, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Arbogast and seconded by Mr. Heller. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Carol.
Sometimes too much.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion on the adoption of resolution number 5-51? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Tracy. Item number 9 on the agenda will be the approval of the state water plan application for the Southwest Storm Sewer Project. And Herb, you'll speak to us on that?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. A little humor never hurts. Back last spring, the city was approached by several developers in southwest Watertown for the city to look at some possible solutions to deal with stormwater drainage, the issue impacting future development in southwest Watertown, specifically around the event center. The city contracted with Austin Engineering to study the drainage issue and to bring some recommendations back to the city, which they did. Austin's, in fact, provided the city a final report and a rough estimate that the project would cost approximately $1.1 million, not including contingency. What I did in your packets is I put a tab in your council packet that outlines the projected costs, including a 10% contingency. This project was added to the city's capital improvement plan to be done in 2 phases, the largest portion in 2006 and the remainder in 2007. The engineering staff is in the process of designing this project as we speak. During the capital improvement process, Alderman Johnson suggested that we should look at applying for state revolving funds, SRF monies, to fund this project. Using that approach, it was thought that the city could potentially free up some additional funds for other projects such as First Avenue, potentially Roby Creek. That's why I'm here to discuss this particular issue with you tonight. For about a month, I've been working with the DENR to figure out how to get into the SRF funds pile of money for the Southwest Watertown project. The first step is to actually get that project on the state water plan, which is why I'm here tonight, because the deadline for application for a project to be submitted is to DENR is October 1st, and then both East Dakota Water Development District and the State Board of Water and Natural Resources will consider the application at their October and November meetings respectively. There's a copy of the State Water Plan app in your city council packets also. I discussed this issue in length with the Public Works Committee on September 8th, and it comes with their recommendation for approval. So I'd look for a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign this application.
We have a motion, please. So moved by Mr. Giselbeck, seconded?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. York. Is there any further discussion?
Just a comment, and that is that the interest rates that the state presently has through this program is about 3.5%. It's historically low, and it's actually below cost to the state. Under that program, they're required to loan money out at below market rates, so it'd be very advantageous for the city to take advantage of it at this time.
Thank you very much, Brad. That's very good. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10 is approval of the South Dakota Department of Transportation proposed functional classification of Watertown roads, resolution number 5-52. Dave Peterson?
The South Dakota Department of Transportation has updated the functional classification map for the city of Watertown, and a copy of that was included in your agenda. They're asking for a resolution by the council approving this plan. There is one additional item that we found out that they didn't have on here that they will be adding on, and that is the future southern bypass, the west end of that, they don't have shown on there from 20th Avenue south over to Highway 20. So that will be added on to the map. That will be the approved map. So we're asking for your approval of this resolution concerning the map, and this comes to you with the recommendation of the Public Works Committee for approval.
May I have a motion, please? So moved by Mr. Heller, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Garnos. Is there any further discussion?
Just for our viewing audience, Dave, if you could just explain what a functional classification of Watertown roads actually means.
Okay, what it actually means is they show certain roads on their map, you know, that are the main arterials and the collector routes. And in order to use federal funding and state funding, the roads have to be on the functional classification map. It is something that could be changed at a later date if the city so desired, but they're allowed, each community is allowed a certain number of miles based upon the total miles of roads that the city has to be classified as arterial and as collector roads and be eligible for use for those federal and state funds.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11 on the agenda is the approval of the plat of Gulfview Estates, resolution number 5-45. Herb?
Thank you, Mayor. In your council packets is that plat. Does anybody need a further orientation of where the location is? Hearing no comments, I'll assume that means no. This plat represents the plat of one lot, Lot 21, Block 1, and comes at the request of Mr. Wayne Meester, who's the president of Gulfview Estates, to facilitate the purchase of Lot 21. The plat represents a continuation of the master plan for Gulfview Estates that was approved several years ago. There is a 10-foot easement to facilitate stormwater drainage recorded on the plat. The plat comes with the Plan Commission's recommendation for approval of Resolution 05-45 for the plat of Gulfview Estates 5th Edition. I therefore request that motion.
We have a motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Arbogast. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12 is the authorization for the mayor and finance officer to sign a purchase agreement with Watertown Development Company for sale of Lot 9 of Endries Industrial Park. And I believe, Stan, you were going to speak to that?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, thank you. Just briefly, and I see Craig Atkins is going to approach the podium, so he'll perhaps give the council a little more detail. But as the council knows, whenever the city wants to convey property that ultimately is going to be put to an economic development purpose under state statute, we first have to convey the property to the Watertown Development Corporation, who then in turn conveys it to the ultimate end user entity. So the item that's before you tonight is to do that, to sign the purchase agreement. And in addition to that, Mayor, I would request that the council also authorize adoption of resolution number 05-53, which will in fact provide for the conveyance of Lot 9 located within the Endries Industrial Park, owned by the City of Watertown, to the Watertown Development Company for an industrial development purpose. And with that, I'll stop talking so Craig can tell you the particulars of the transaction.
Good evening. Craig Atkins with Focus Watertown. I really don't have anything else to add. We've been working with this particular individual for quite some time on a sale of this lot. We've also been working with Herb Bloomquist and his staff on taking a look at some more long-term infrastructure so that we can maybe take a look at marketing some of the rest of those lots out there. Really all I'm here to do tonight is to try to answer any questions if there are any.
Well, first we'll have a motion to approve resolution number 5-53. Is that correct, Stanton? Okay.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Heller, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Johnston. Now, any further discussion?
What was the price per acre on that?
Was it 12.5, Stan?
It's 12,500.
And there's about 2.48 acres, I believe. 4.7.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Craig. Item number 13 is the authorization for the mayor and finance officer to sign the school resource officer agreement with the Watertown School District, and Police Chief Vitek will speak to us on that issue.
I believe Mr. Turback first had some comments.
I can lay a little bit of the background for you on this. The city has been participating along with the Watertown School District for several years in a federal grant program, often referred to as a COPS grant. And under that grant, the federal government has picked up the lion's share of the cost of having a school resource officer, which is one of our uniformed certified police officers on site at the school during the school year. And that officer spends most all of his time at the school. And the grant term has since expired at the end of this past school year. It did expire. The obligation on the part of the city and the school district at the time the grant was requested was to continue to fund that position for one additional year after the grant ran out. And so this memorandum of understanding or school resource officer agreement would provide kind of the framework, if you will, for continuing that position and the cost sharing arrangement between the school district and the city for that one additional year that we're obligated to. The cost split, the school district for during the period of the grant has paid 75% of the non-federal share. The city has paid 25% of the non-federal share, and that cost split will remain, that same ratio will remain then for this coming year. The school district will pay 75% and the city will pay 25%. The school board has considered that and has agreed to that arrangement, and the council tonight is being requested to give their approval to that same arrangement. I will say that what happens with the program or that position at the end of this next year then really remains to be seen. That's for the council and the Watertown School Board to determine. There's no obligation remaining after this next year to continue that. Basically the federal requirements will have been met by the end of this next school year. Now, if you have particular questions about what a school resource officer is and what they do, Chief Vitek could certainly answer that for you, but that's kind of the background of what brings this to you tonight.
Just occasion. That's the school year you're talking about rather than the fiscal year or something?
Yes, it'll run for the school year. And that was kind of the rationale for the cost split to begin with, is the school year ran about 75% of the total calendar year. So the city will essentially pay for those 3 months that the officer is not in the school, and the school district will pay for that annual salary, or 75% of that annual salary, which will equate approximately to the 9 months that the officer is working in the school.
So may I have a motion then to sign the school resource officer agreement with the Watertown School District? Motion by Mr. Wilson, second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. York. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we're on item number 14, which is the open, and Herb has a couple items to discuss with us.
Again, thank you, Mayor. My first item goes back to the purchase agreement that the council just approved for Lot 9 out in the Indres Industrial Park. As a result of you taking that action, staff would also like to request the council's authorization to advertise for bids to complete the installation of sanitary sewer along 23rd Street East. Actually, it's a completion of installation because of approximately 875 feet of sewer has already been installed out there as a result of TSC and Lewis Trucking going in on the west side of 23rd. Clausen Construction and now the party that's going into Lot 9 require sanitary sewer on their lots and would like it extended for the remainder of 23rd. It is city infrastructure, so we think it's appropriate certainly to go out for bids and then collect the costs back from the two parties involved for their portion, or the sewer that affronts their lot, with the city then certainly paying the rest of the bill and recouping those costs at some point in time in the future when the rest of the property develops as those costs can be collected. I have money in my industrial park improvement funds to in fact cover the city's portions of the costs, and therefore would ask for your authorization to advertise for bids.
We have a motion then to authorize the construction of the 23rd Street East Sanitary Sewer Project, advertising for bids.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Heller, seconded. Seconded by Mrs. Arbogast. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I know we talked about this at Public Works, sir, but I don't remember the length of this additional sewer is going to be what?
It's about 1,200 feet. Approximately 3 blocks.
Thank you, Herb. Is there any other questions or discussion? If not, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And Herb, you also have one more item on the open.
The second item is just for both the council and the public's information, to remind you that you're invited to the final public meeting for the Watertown Area Transportation Study, which will be held tomorrow evening, Tuesday, September 20th, in the upstairs meeting hall room in City Hall. That meeting will include a presentation of the study's recommendations for the future development of roadways, trails, and transit within Watertown. The meeting will actually start with an open house at 5:30, with the presentation being at about 6. So again, the council and the public certainly invited to that final meeting tomorrow evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Is there anything else on the open? If not, we'll move to old business. Any old business to discuss? Any new business to discuss? Any liaison member reports? Let's see, Stan, you have something you'd like to tell us about your appointment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you know, the city of Watertown for some time has had representation on the South Dakota Workers' Compensation Liability Pool Board, and recently former Mayor Barger resigned that position. At their July meeting in Hot Springs, the then sitting members of the board took a vote to see who would fill that now vacant position, and apparently they came up with my name. So I wanted to make the council aware that they have nominated me to accept that position. It's a 3-year term, and you folks are familiar with how often that board meets. I believe it's 4 times a year at various locations throughout the state. So unless there's some objection, I'm apparently going to be filling those shoes for the next 3 years.
Just say no.
That'll be personal time off, won't it, Stan? Oh, vacation, that's what it is. Okay, very good. Thank you, Stan. There will be no executive session tonight, and therefore I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. So moved by Mrs. Arbogast, seconded by Mr. Solberg, and all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned.